Jim right here.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not your first time doing these media days, but, fighting a guy that, we presented this to Chase, and you have more UFC fights than he has years on this planet. So not every day you fight guys that much younger than you. So I guess what went through your mind when Chase Hooper's name came across your desk?
I have more UFC wins than he has years on this earth. It's a fun fight. I've been watching Chase for a little bit now. He's a talented fighter. Thank you. It's a fight, and like I've seen just about everything at this point. Inside that octagon and a lot of it outside. So for me, it's just about doing what I need to do to be prepared and being as good a version of myself on Saturday night as I can be. If I do that, it does not matter who is in front of me, what skill set they have, whether they're a couple inches taller than me or not. I saw a bunch of people pointing out that he's 6'1". It's like I have fought guys that were 6'4". Like I've got quite a few wins over guys that are 6 foot and above. So like some of those silly things that everybody likes to talk about, they don't matter. Like he's young, he's talented. He's doing really good at lightweight. I honestly believe that a lot of fighters could benefit from going up as opposed to the going down, in weight class. So yeah, that's what I got to deal with. I got to deal with a young, hungry dude, and I'm prepared. I feel great, and I'm ready to put on a show on Saturday.
After his win over Clay, someone presented your name to him at the press conference, and he said, "Oh yeah, that'd be a good fight." And then obviously, as you know how it goes, all the headlines are Chase Hooper calls out Jim Miller. So I'm curious, did you see that quote unquote call out that wasn't really a call out right away? And did you say like, "Oh, that's probably what I'm fighting next"? Then
I thought about it. Honestly, my phone went off right after he said that. My coaches were like, "Great fight, we like it," So it's silly how sometimes the littlest things turn into like headlines, and we live in the world of reality TV. So him just having my name mentioned to him turns into like some crazy call out. But it's like I said, it's a great fight. I'm excited for it. I'm a fan of his, and I always like I get more pumped up when I've seen a guy fight a bunch of times, and I enjoy watching him fight because this stuff excites me, So that's why I'm still doing it. So yeah, I'm just ready to go, and feeling great about it.
I spoke to him earlier, and he kind of compared. This isn't new to him. Like his second fight was against Alex Caceres, and he fought Clay Guida, and now he's fighting you. And he's like, "What am I going to bring to the table that they haven't seen?" Because they've had like 75 fights between all of them. He goes, "My job is to just not care and not respect what they bring." Is that the right attitude that you would tell young fighters to have? Like, yeah, you might be fighting a guy with triple the amount of fights of you, but you can't care about that. You have to disrespect that, basically.
Absolutely. That's absolutely the right. That's the same exact attitude that I had. Like when I was coming up, on the local circuit in Jersey, I wasn't training to fight the guys that I was fighting. I was training to fight BJ Penn. Like that's who I had in my sights. And the guy that worked at the tire shop, was just somebody in my way. And like we obviously like prepare specifically for people and understand that certain opponents bring certain things to the table, but it's very weird like how much emphasis goes on that. Honestly, in my opinion, like I am worried about myself when I'm training. Like that's the biggest thing, is being healthy, being sharp, being good at the things that I'm good at. Because my goal was to make it a Jim Miller fight, which is. You've seen me fight plenty of times. Like it's going to be gritty. I'm going to go in. I'm going to push the pace and push the scrambles, and that's what I want. That's where I thrive. So, like I appreciate that attitude, and I do believe that that's the way everybody should be coming to the table. I mean that's why I've taken so many of these fights when I've had opponents drop out. Like I think I've had at least 10 guys, maybe more, like. Drop out of fights, and to me, it's like if I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to fight. It doesn't matter who's standing in front of me. So, and preparing for that date has made it that way, that like, oh, well, now I'm fighting a righty over a lefty, or, a striker over a grappler. It doesn't matter, because I'm ready. I'm prepared to fight. And that's helped me get a few more wins under my belt. That's helped me make more money. That's helped me advance my career, So like, yeah, being ready to fight and being willing to take on all comers really is a great attitude, I believe.
A lot of people view this as like you giving Chase the opportunity to fight a veteran. Can you remember when maybe a veteran gave you your first shot? Like when you were considered the young guy going up against the older fighter?
I don't know. When I fought, it wasn't necessarily that, like he was in the UFC for longer than me. But when I fought Dwayne Ludwig, it was like, whoa. Like, to me, it's like, I heard about that guy. Like, I used to watch him on whatever it was, ESPN2 or something like that, like the K1 days and stuff like that, where Saturday mornings they'd show some kickboxing, right? And like, I knew about him for a long time, and that was a guy that was like, whoa, like I'm fighting this guy. Like, I've seen him fight, for years. So yeah, I think that was probably the first time that something like that happened to me.
And just last one for me, unrelated to your fight, but you're not overly active on social media, so when you are, it kind of catches everyone's attention. You went on those tweets about the eye pokes, right?
Yes.
And I think your phrase was, "It's not the gloves, it's the culture." So, I guess, can you expand on that a little bit, because people may have been confused about what.
Yeah. So a lot of the idea that people that have like never actually been taped up and put those gloves on, is everybody thinks it's the gloves, and they look at Pride as the example of, like, this is how you prevent eye pokes. You have a glove that has a slight curve to it. And there are a couple different considerations that we need to look at, other than just the difference in gloves, when it came to Pride, right? They really, really appreciated the fighter spirit, right? They were pushing that, and it's like, you went out there and you fought your ass off. It didn't matter win or lose. If you fought gritty and you fought hard and you went in there to finish the fight, and that's how fights were judged as well, on how much you tried to finish the fight, not some point system that was adapted from boxing. You got the opportunity to come back, and everybody wanted the opportunity to come back, because it was Yakuza money. They're paying cash. Like, guys are smuggling, tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more than that, back into the U.S. So that's one thing, right? Like, fighting hard. Another thing that often gets overlooked is, like, those guys were sauced out of their minds, like, to the point where the Japanese were testing them to see what drugs they were on, so they could put their fighters on the same drugs.
Probably greased, too.
Yeah, right. So it's like they were. From what I know, I don't know too much about performance enhancers, but I'm pretty certain that steroids make you a little bit more aggressive. But then I think the biggest thing that often gets overlooked, right, is the rule set. They had cards, right? I think it was a green card and a yellow card, which were, if the ref gave you a card, it was an immediate 10 or 20% deduction from your purse. So you are immediately fining someone. Eye gouges and eye pokes are the same thing. So if it happened, they were immediately fined 10 to 20% of their purse. And if the fighter that was poked was unable to continue, the fighter who committed the foul lost. They were DQ'd. We get talked to in the back by the refs every time. And it's always, hey, keep your hands closed, keep your hands, none of this. And then you'll go in the fight and your opponent goes like this, and again, it's another warning. And a lot of times the referees in the back say, hey, this is your first warning. But then they give 2, 3, 4 warnings again inside the octagon. And then a poke happens. And then immediately, whose fault is it? Who gets the pressure is the fighter that just got their eyeball poked in, right? The pressure goes to that person to continue the fight. The pressure doesn't go on to the other guy. Like, they're not they're not necessarily going to lose unless it's one of those situations where it goes to the cards now and this and that, right? It's either going to be a no contest or they're going to go to the judges' scorecard and they're going to see how it fans out. I would like somebody, you guys are, more into the data of this stuff than I am, and I don't know if there's an easy way to track this, but how many times is the fighter that has been poked in the eye won the fight? I don't recall it being very often, right? It sucks. It is not a good thing to be in a fist fight and get your eye poked. I believe that we need to treat them like a foul, and we all know how to keep our hands closed. We do. And a lot of that cultural aspect of it, right, is that like the pressure when you get here is to stay here. Like it's harder to stay in the UFC than it is to get to the UFC. So it's win at all costs. And when you get into that flurry, right, and I don't want to get hit, I don't want to get clinched, I don't want to get taken down, you start to get tentative and you push people away. And that's when a lot of them happen. There are occasionally the ones that like somebody's swinging and reaching for someone and their hand opens up. There's the Leon against Bilal when it was like his thumb. Like that one is a serious accident, right? We use instant replay for a lot of this stuff. If the fight gets stopped because of an eye poke and the ref looks at the replay and it is a strike being thrown with open fingers, it should be, in my opinion, an immediate point, and there should be a fine.
How would you handle inactivity then? Because Pride also gave out cards and fines, like you said, for inactivity.
I don't know. I don't know how to be inactive. I think that we could do something like that as well. I think that eye pokes honestly is a serious problem, and I think we need to address it very seriously. If too many fighters, which I don't think too many fighters are being inactive. If they wanted to, potentially do something like that, like inactivity or passivity or stalling, whatever you want to call it, maybe come up with something for that as well. But like I said, the eye poke thing is like, a fighter can be inactive and just not want to get hit or take damage. Usually, that's not a winning strategy. Open your hand up once or twice. It seems to be a pretty good winning strategy at this point. So I honestly, I think the fouls need to be punished accordingly.
Jim, right here. Yep. Just to build off of that, to your right.
There you are. I saw an arm over there.
Just to build off that, Phil Davis came out earlier this week and said, if a fight ends because of an eye poke, that should be a DQ. Someone should lose, someone should win, because if you have a sport with two people or even a race with two people and one guy falls out, well, the other guy's the winner. Would you go as far as doing that? You mentioned the Pride situation.
Yeah, I would. And honestly, if that was the case, if you knew that you were going to get disqualified for a poke, I guarantee that you're going to see a dramatic drop in the amount of pokes that you see. There are accidents do happen. It does happen. Like I have been close to poking people in the eye in grappling situations, and when I fought Donald Cerrone the first time, he hurt me to the body in the very first exchange of that fight. And I remember exactly where we were in the octagon. He had me against the cage in his corner, and I tried to shove him away because I wanted some fucking space. And I felt my finger go into his eye a little bit, and like he hit me really, really hard right after that. But like, had the ref stopped the fight for it, hey man, like I'm a big boy, I'm a grown man. Like it was my fuck up. That's why it happened. I was hurt. I didn't want to be in that situation. And if we're gonna have rules, we should follow them. So, like, I honestly, I do believe that if we're gonna start actually treating the foul like a foul, then it should be something that causes a disqualification.
And then on to the fight. We had Chase in here earlier. He's had 10 fights. This is going to be his 11th. Obviously, you are at 45 going into 46. He was asked about the possibility of, him going to, a career like yours, being around for that long. He said, hey, I probably wouldn't want to. I mean, you are kind of an outlier, even among your peers, with going this long and staying with it. I mean, what do you attribute that to? What sets you apart from so many guys who, a lot of whom say, I don't even want to fight this long?
There's a lot. There's a lot that's happened over the years. Like I came into this organization kind of on fire, right? I went 9-1 in this division, and was knocking on the door for my opportunity at the world title, and I've dealt with some things along the way, like when I fought Benson in that 11th fight that I had in this promotion, I ended up having mono, and because of that, I ended up giving myself a kidney infection. I should have been in the hospital instead of the octagon that night, and I still got 6 submission attempts awarded to me in that fight. There were another 6 more that weren't given to me. I knocked him down in the last minute or two of the fight, and in the last few seconds of the fight, he ran away from me. I was still this close to finishing him, as sick as I was. So I do believe that had the cards fallen in a couple different, a different way in a couple different fights, I could have had my opportunity at the world title, and could have been a world champ. And then, things kind of went pretty south for me in 2013 when I was bit by a tick, and then it's just those things started compounding, right? The symptoms that I was feeling started compounding. I thought it was life as a fighter. Oh, my knees hurt, my body hurts. My legs are going numb when I sit on the floor. It was just things that you would kind of attribute to a life of combat. But when I was diagnosed in 2016, I made some serious changes to the way that I approach my health, changing my diet, changing my recovery, and really kind of being a bit smarter with it. Not like I ate like crap before that, because I was one of the best lightweights on the planet. But I really got serious with, getting a lot of the processed bullshit out of there. And honestly, I think that is one of the reasons that I've had this longevity, is that I had to get serious about it, in my early 30s, right? It sucks that my athletic prime was stolen away from me by a fucking tick bite, but it's a lesson that I made sure I learned some stuff from. So I've made a lot of decisions based on that I think that have added to my longevity. I've surrounded myself with some really great people over the years that have helped me. I downsized my gym, right? I went from one of the bigger gyms in New Jersey to opening up my own place and consolidating my team. And, that was when I was sick, before I knew that I was sick, and I wouldn't have survived somewhere else, honestly. Not being the guy kind of in control of training. I consider myself very coachable, and if somebody asked something from me, I was going to do it. And even run down, even beat up, even on my worst days, I would have kind of followed orders and done what I had to do. But that's kind of one of those lessons that I learned, is I have to gauge myself, because my day-to-day is different than anybody else's day-to-day. And even though it's hey, today's hard sparring day, if I'm in camp and I'm banged up, now I'm going in there against a bunch of guys that aren't training on my schedule. They're not doing the extra stuff that I'm doing because they're not in fight camp. Well, they're a lot fresher than I am, so I have to be careful, right? And it might not be my day to go super hard. So I kind of learned how to gauge myself and to make those smarter decisions. And yeah, it's I didn't enjoy a lot of the lessons as I was being taught them, over the years, but I definitely tried to learn from every single one of them.
Jim right here. Cheer, right? I guess just a three-parter here. Is 50 fights still the plan? Is there a clear timeline in your mind for that? And is number 47 in New Jersey in a couple of months?
The 50 fights is still the plan. Yep. I'm feeling good, and I feel like I can definitely hit that. I'm also taking it fight by fight as well, and it's really the fight camps. The fight camps are the hard part. There are fights that I've come out of, changed, but it's usually that like 8 weeks of just grinding yourself into a nub, trying to prepare to do battle, right? What was the other part of that? Sorry.
For 47, would New Jersey be too soon?
Yeah. 47. That's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. I guess it all depends on how Saturday goes. I do want to fight in New Jersey. In Newark, because that's kind of, even though Newark, like if New Jersey, Newark is like a different country compared to where like I live. I'm like 3 miles from Pennsylvania, so I'm out in the woods. But the Prudential Center is kind of my home arena. So it would be a tough one. But yeah, if things go well Saturday, then maybe we'll have to do that.
All right, over here.
Yep.
When you look back at your early fights compared to now, how has your mindset evolved over the years?
It's evolved a lot. I used to I suffer from really bad tunnel vision when I'm in there. And suffer might be the wrong word. And it might sound weird for somebody to say this, but like I have a pretty good ability to compartmentalize and focus on the guy that's trying to punch me in the face. And that might seem weird, but there are a lot of times that you can tell, like having cornered fighters and my brother and listened to plenty of interviews and stuff. Sometimes fighters carry outside interference into the octagon, and I've always been very good at shutting that off. And my music plays, that first note plays of my walkout song, and I don't really see anything besides the octagon. I step inside the octagon. I don't see outside it. So like it's easy for me to focus, but like in the past I used to get like just super like, hey, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm fighting to my strengths. And sometimes, opponents would do the right thing and defend those and counter those, and I never I lost a few fights that I could have adapted and changed my style. Maybe fought a little bit more conservatively. I wouldn't have been happy with myself if I had done so, but changed up the game plan a little bit in there with what my opponent was bringing to me, and could have turned things around and made it a better night. But I was always so just like laser focused on what I had to do, and now I found that like just having a little bit more fun and being a little more loose when I go out there, and really kind of just embracing the situation and really appreciating it. I'm more dangerous that way. So yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty crazy, like warming up in the back and watching the younger guys and seeing them go through the same motions that I used to go through, and like, they're you can see that they're like forcing the scowl. They're like trying to make themselves like intense and angry, and maybe that's optimally, maybe that is what they need, but me, I'm like trying to fight back the smiles, and like I'm just cheesing back there, and it's really cool to kind of almost be like a little bit of like the fly on the wall for that type of stuff, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to step onto the canvas and I'm going to do what I'm here to do, and I don't need to create some like fake level of rage or something like that in order to be dangerous. I've done the reps, I put in the time. So yeah, I find that I'm a lot calmer, a lot more open-minded when I'm in there fighting now.
You have fought legends and future stars. Who is the toughest opponent you have faced?
That's a really difficult question. Like you get to this level, man, and you're a stud. Like I was asked the question, before, like, how does the average person, do in the octagon? And it's like, well, I mean, that's the kind of the thing, right? It's like to get to this level, like to be somebody that trains, even to train jiu-jitsu, to train MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, like you're already a step in that direction. To get to the level of the UFC, I mean, there are a lot of guys that are coming in with a few fights, a handful of fights, a half a dozen fights, but like they're still putting in the work. So you've already kind of separated yourself from the pack a little bit. I mean, I have to say that like my fight with Dustin, it was gritty, it was grueling. My Muay Thai coach, Amr Ibrahim, he still talks about it. He's like, man, when I was walking into the octagon, he says he saw Joe Rogan's face at the end of the fight, and he's like Joe Rogan looked like he was looking at like a car accident, to know like post fight, right? He ends up going to the hospital, and they're like threatening to cut his calf open because they didn't want him to, get compartment syndrome or something like that, and to try to reduce the swelling. And it's like, to take those kicks continually, and in the back of my head, it's like, oh man, only a couple more, and maybe he wouldn't have been able to get up. But he's a tough dude. But like I said, there's a lot. There's been a lot of tough guys in front of me.
All right, thank you.
Jim, one question from me. Your wife has been by your side for a long time through your whole career. What type of advice did she give you early on in your career, and how has that advice changed?
How much did she pay you to ask that question? My wife, she's just supportive. She's just always been there for me. I mean, we met just before my second fight, so she kind of had to accept the fact that I was a fighter, right? So like, since I was already doing it, but I don't really, I don't know about like advice. Really, it's kind of just like she's gonna have my back, and I know that, no matter what I do. And we did have a conversation the other day, and I see some of these other guys that they step away and then they come back. And that's not something that I want to do, right? Like I want to, what's that? No, thanks. Maybe some of the YouTube boxing, but like when it comes to MMA, right? Like I want to be done with it. Like when I'm done here, I want to be done with it. And I know it's going to be difficult. It's going to be really, really freaking hard to just shut it off and to not pursue it anymore. But like we were talking about it, and she's like, yeah, I wouldn't let you. Like once you're done, you're done. And she's like, I'll do what I got to do. We'll change the lifestyle. We'll do this. We'll do that. Whatever it takes. Because I mean, she sees me on my worst days, and she doesn't like to point it out, right? She won't do that. Like, oh, why you limping, or why you doing this, or why you doing that? It was good to hear her say that and be like, hey, like, you spend the time that you need, you get in these last couple, and then we can move on, and then we can be done with it, just wring every little drop out of it, and that's what my plan has been. But knowing that she supports that and is there behind me makes it easier too.